Hi guys, welcome to my channel. In this how-to video I'm going to show how to clean a Briggs and Stratton carburetor. This is carburetor 799866 with an auto choke. The carburetor kit that contains all the gaskets and pieces, if you choose to buy it, is $498,260. If this is one of your first times cleaning a carburetor, it's probably a good idea to have the kit. A lot of times these gaskets are brittle and get destroyed easily. You don't always have to buy a kit, but it's probably a good idea to have it before you start, just so that in case anything goes wrong with the gaskets or anything like that, you have replacements. So the basic tools that you're going to need to clean the carburetor are a variety of punches, usually a 1/16 inch center punch, is what you'll need to remove the float pin. A pair of needle nose pliers, a small one to grasp the float pin, a 1/2 inch wrench or socket will do to remove the float bowl nut, a small hammer to tap the punch with to get the float pin out, and if you haven't already removed the gas line, you'll need a pliers. This is a hose clamp pliers, but you can use a regular needle nose pliers as well, or other line pliers to get the fuel line off. You'll also want to have a pan and some carburetor cleaner to clean the parts in, and you'll want to have shop towels or paper towels as well. In addition to all of that stuff, you're going to want to have some stranded copper wire, very small, to clean out the carburetor jet with. And you really want it to be copper. You don't want to use steel or anything like that, because you risk opening the jet up and changing the mixture setting using a steel brush, because the jet is brass, and you don't want to score the sides of the jet or anything like that. So you want to use like a very thin stranded copper wire. And I'll show you that when we get to that point. So let's get into it. If you haven't already, let's remove the fuel line from the carburetor. So you just pinch this clamp and pull the clamp back over the fuel line, and then you can either use these pliers, or what's better are these hose pliers to pull the line off. Like that. Set that aside. And before I actually begin disassembling the carb, I like to kind of clean off the outside, get all of this dirt and stuff off of it, because that is going to ultimately probably contaminate the inside. So we want to get all of that off. You guys get the idea. I'll bring you back when this is all cleaned up. I finished cleaning off the outside of the carburetor. It's not perfect, but it will definitely do. The bulk of the dirt and crap is off of it. If you have a gasket like this that is kind of stuck, if you have a kit, you can peel this gasket off and clean the surface. If you are trying to do this without buying a carburetor kit, you can leave it alone, and hopefully it won't come apart, and you can reuse it as is. So don't mess with it if you don't have a kit and you want to try and reuse this gasket. Or even if you do have a kit, you can try and reuse the gasket by just not messing with it. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the float bowl nut, which is also the jet. So you need a 1/2 inch wrench or socket with a ratchet to do that, and it's probably going to dribble whatever fuel is in the bowl out when you loosen that and undo it. Alright, so here is the jet. There is a tiny hole in the center, and this one is clogged. So that is why it is not running at all. And here is the inside of the float bowl. You can see there's a little bit of stuff right there. Not too bad, but enough to clog the jet. And here is the float and the float pin. So this float pin is coming right out. You do not, I did not need to tap it with a punch, but if yours is kind of stuck, you're going to want to tap that with your 1/16 inch punch. And at this point, once you have that out, your float will lift right out, along with your float needle, which is right there. It goes in that hole right there. Alright. And down inside there, I don't know if you, I think you can see it, there is a little red gasket, and that is your float seal. If you have bought a carburetor kit, you can pull that out. A lot of people will thread like a wood screw down in there into the center of that, and then pull on it, and that'll bring it right out, and you can put the new float seat in. So let's get to cleaning this carburetor. I'm going to start with cleaning the easy stuff first, like the float. Just get all the dirt and grime off of it and wipe it off with a clean paper towel and set it to the side. I usually set this stuff to the side on a clean paper towel over here. Same thing with the float pin. Doesn't even really need to be sprayed off, just wipe down. There we go, float pin. We will examine the needle. So what you're looking for, that'll focus, is on the tip. If you see any rings or wear, then you probably want to replace it with one from a kit. But this one looks really good. It doesn't look like it has any wear or anything that might cause it to leak. So I think this one can be reused. We will spray out the float bowl. Wipe that down. Sometimes I'll have, if there's been water in the carburetor, and it's been, sitting for a long time, you'll have corrosion. You'll have like this white crust around the edge. You want to really scrape that away. You don't want to gouge the aluminum, but you want to kind of scrape the white stuff down so that it's not interfering with the gasket sealing. This one is in really good condition, so it doesn't look like it's had any water or anything in it, at least not for that long. So I think that's fine the way it is. And now we're going to take a look at this jet. So there is a tiny hole in the very center there. It's kind of plugged up with grime, and there are two holes in the side here. There's one, and then one on the other side, and those allow the gasoline in the float to be drawn up into the jet and sprayed up through this metering hole in the center here. And on this one, they are all clogged up. And this gasket, I don't know if that's gonna, let me work on that. Let me see if I can save this sealing washer here. If you have a kit, your kit should come with one of these. I'm not gonna mess with it too much. I'm going to reuse this one and see if it leaks. Most of the time this stuff will reseal good enough and you won't need to use a kit. Sometimes they won't, however. Really depends. Like I said, If you don't do this all the time and you're just doing this to get your mower or whatever back into service, you probably want to have the kit. And this is where the little wires come in handy. So you want to take focus. You want to take your wire, and there we go, that's in focus. It was in focus. And you want to stick it down and clear out that jet. Just like that. And you want to do it on the side as well. I'm going to do this off camera because it's hard to see on camera. I will bring you back when they're clear. Alright, this one is pretty clear, so when you shoot carburetor cleaner down the jet, it should shoot out the two sides, like that. You see that? That's pretty clear. And if you have an air compressor, it would be a good idea to blow out the jet, which I'm going to do right now. I don't drop it. Alright, so even though the jet looks a little bit corroded, it's clear and it is ready to go. For the carburetor itself, I'm going to start just by spraying out the body here. And once you have the body sprayed out, you can spray up the emulsion tube. That's this little brass tube right here in the center. And it should come out here, so that brass tube is here. So when you spray up, you should see it spray out here, and you probably are going to see it spray out of this one too. I don't know if you saw that. I'll try and do it again. So you can see it spray there, and you can see it spray there. So that means that those passages are pretty clear. You want to blow out some of the other passages here. So there's one here, and I think that actually may be it. So once you spray that out, you can spray a little bit in here, but you want to be careful of spraying in the fuel inlet because you can potentially blow the seat out. And also the carburetor seat doesn't really like carb cleaner. If you get too much on there and let it sit, the seat is going to kind of absorb it and kind of grow and blow up, and it might not let enough fuel through. That's kind of what happens, so you kind of want to stay away from that. Now if you're replacing the seat, go wild and spray that out because you want to remove that. You probably remove that anyway. Same thing with the O-ring. If you are replacing this O-ring, you want to scrape that off and clean that surface up. If you aren't, you probably, and it doesn't come off, like this one didn't come off, you probably want to kind of stay away from that with the carb cleaner because it, again, blows up. If this thing came off and you had carb cleaner on it, it would grow in size and it would not fit back on there. You might be able to use like a heat gun or a hair dryer and shrink it back up, but no guarantees on that. One of the ways you can tell that you need to replace your gasket is if it's cracked in any places or if it's like really hard. This one is still kind of rubbery when you press on it. It's definitely got some spring left in it and it's not cracked anywhere. So you really don't have to replace it if that's the case. If this were hard and cracked, then I would scrape this off and replace it with a new gasket. But this one is not too bad. You can tell that there has been some water in this tank because, or in this carburetor, because we have some corrosion here, this white buildup. You can try and scrape it off if you want, but it's really not hurting anything right here. As long as the emulsion tube is clear and the jet is clear and all of that is and there's no particles or dirt left in here, then it really doesn't matter. You don't have to scrape it off if you don't want to. Before putting it back together, I like to give it one last spray through the inside of the carb body, all of the butterflies and all of that. Get any remaining dirt out of there. Making sure it's real clean, you know, nothing loose, no particles in there or anything like that. So what I will show you how to do is I will show you how to replace these throttle and choke arm seals. So there's supposed to be some white seals there. Let me see if I can show you. Like these. They're kind of foam seals that go around the throttle and choke butterfly arms. Most people don't bother replacing them, but I'll show you how to do it because they will come in your carb kit if you buy one. So this is the choke. This is the choke arm. You want to take your needle nose pliers and grasp the butterfly and just pull, and it should pull right out like that. And you want to make sure that you keep this side, this side was facing out, so I'm going to put it down like that. And then at this point, your choke lever should pull out, making sure that you know which side this points to when you pull it out. And you can pull it right out like that. And then you can replace the foam gasket. So the new one can go on just like that. And this will go back in just the way it came out. Like that. Just pointing out like that. And you take your butterfly and you stick back through. Just like that. Easy. I'm going to go and do the throttle one just the same, and I'll bring you back after that's done. And here is the throttle replaced as well. So it has the new foam gasket. Same way. Alright, now we're ready to reassemble the carburetor. And so first thing you want to do is you want to take your float and you want to install your float pin or needle. Goes like that. Like that. Okay. And you want to carefully drop that in just like that. And then slide your float pin through to secure it. Just like that. And that should be sitting just about level. Just like that. So the way this works is that the carburetor is sitting like this on the mower, and this bowl is up like that, and gas flows into the bowl through the needle and seat because the float is down, and then when the gas reaches a certain level, the float floats up on top of the gas, and then that needle pushes against that rubber seat and seals it, so no more gas can enter. Because if that needle and seat were not sealing properly, gas would come up and it would continue to flow in, and if this seal was not good, your carb bowl would start leaking, or if the seal was good, it would start flooding the engine. You would actually have gas coming out of the carburetor. You would see gas in the air filter area, and it would probably flood the engine, and you would not be able to start it. And if you did manage to get it to start, it would not run properly. So the way you test that this is working properly is I put a piece of fuel hose on there like that, and when this is down, you should be able to blow through this and have air coming through. So air is coming through, you turn it around, just like that, and don't apply pressure to the float. And this should be sealed. You should not be able to blow through this. I cannot. So this is working the way it's supposed to. I can blow when the float is down like that, and I cannot blow through when I hold it upside down and the float is up against, when the needle is up against the seat. So this float, needle and seat are working properly. At this point, the last step is to put the bowl back on with the jet. And don't forget your seal if you're replacing that, or if you took it off, or if it came off. And once you have that back on, you can kind of shake it and hear that the float is still moving. If you didn't hear that, then the float may have gotten stuck or jammed or something like that. You'd probably have to take this back off and see what the problem was. At this point, your carburetor is clean and you are ready to install it back on the lawnmower. So I hope you like this tutorial, and I will put the part numbers for all of these things in the links below, and I'll try and put the numbers for the individual gaskets in the description below as well, so that you can see those if you want to buy just the float gasket or whatever. If you like these videos, if you like this video, check out my other videos on a whole bunch of different subjects. And if you like it, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.